Hello, 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 and welcome everybody to the Spring 2023 Chainlink Hackathon. Boy, have we got a fun half an hour to 45 minutes planned for you guys. We've got Kemal El Moujahid, our Chief Product Officer from Chainlink, here with us to answer questions that you guys from the community have asked. But before that, I want to see a GM or GN or GE, whatever, wherever in the world you are, pop it in the chat. Tell us where you are right now and tell us how you're doing. We want to know where everybody else is from. Hey, Romain. Hey, Tippy. Hey, Abdul Hakim, Justice. Where's everyone from? Come on, drop it in the chat. Let us know where you guys are from. I'm from Australia, and I'm based in Melbourne at the moment. And that's where I'm from. So it's at night. It's down at night here. Kamal, I think, where are you at the moment?
I'm in France.
France, excellent. Turkey, Amsterdam. Nice. Cool. Anybody else in the odds are small, but I'm going to ask. Anybody else from Australia or New Zealand? Probably not. Okay. Anyone in France at the moment? Washington, D.C.? Cool. Welcome. Germany. Excellent. India. Yes. Hey, Bharat. Excellent. Brilliant. All right, guys, let's get started. We've got some awesome questions from the community, and I'm really keen that Kamal gets the opportunity to listen to your questions and then address them because this is a big year for Chainlink. We're doing some amazing stuff, and this hackathon has been an absolute smash so far. I cannot tell you how much fun we've all had at Chainlink listening to you guys, answering your questions about really fun new products like Chainlink functions and stuff that so many of you are building with. It's going to be really, really an epic session. So let's just dive into that. Kamal, how are you today? How is France?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm super happy to be here today. You know this. I love working with developers. I've had the privilege of building some really amazing global developer communities, and it's always the job just to see what crazy ideas developers come up with. I think that's and hackathons are really sort of the peak moment of that phenomenon. So I'm really keen to hear the questions of the community and also would love to just learn about what people are doing.
Fantastic. Absolutely. I share. And there's so much energy right in these hackathons. And this year has been even bigger than last year. We've had, I think last year we had what, 10, 12,000 people entering. This year we've had close to 15,000. And there's so much energy. There's so much buzz. There's momentum in the space. Even though there are headwinds in different parts of the world, we're still going strong. So it's really wonderful. Thank you for making the time to come and talk to us in the community. This is really exciting for us. So let's dive in because I'm sure the audience is just dying to get into some of the questions that they've asked. So let's kick off with this, Kamal. Given that we're at the hackathon, submissions are closing, later today, 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, etc. What advice, Kamal, would you give the teams that want their hackathon submission to really stand out?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, that's always sort of the big question when you're thinking about, okay, is my idea going to stand out? Well, first, I would start by saying that I feel we're just so early, in the space. And there's just so much to invent, which is what is also so exhilarating about working in this space. And what we've been doing, especially with functions, is open up the dimensions of what's possible. New use cases, new verticals. It's really about thinking about that next million developers that we need to welcome to Web3. There are 30,000 maybe active developers right now in Web3. There are 30 million developers out there. So it's really about opening up the dimensions of what's possible, inspiring them to come and build this new world with us. So I think one way to think about how to stand out is think about those more hybrid apps that combine the power of on-chain components with power of Web2 APIs, whether they're data APIs, compute APIs, AI powered APIs, and use functions to do that. Obviously, I'd say be creative. Think of something that inspires other developers. I think focusing on the real-world use cases of Web3 is really something that we've seen a lot of appetite for. And again, with all this connection that's now possible with the Web2 world, then you can showcase those ideas. So you could look at all the available APIs. You could get inspired by, hey, if I connected this API with that smart contract idea, maybe that would just come up. That would be a really inspiring use case. So I think that's another way that we've seen people do that. Also, all these new developers need infrastructure. So as you think about the ideas that you've been having and where you found some friction, maybe you can think of, you know what, I'm going to build a tool. I'm going to build a tool for other developers so they don't have to deal with that problem. I think that's also a really interesting way of coming up with good submission. And think of all the innovative spaces that are outside Web3, again, like AI or no code or DevOps, and think of how you can combine them to, again, create something that's inspiring. And also enterprise, don't forget to tell us what would have made your life easier, because this is something that also is really interesting for us to understand in your submission. Is this is how we've built it, and this is how we would have had a much easier time to build it. That's also something that we look at.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. That was a very comprehensive answer. And I think it's true that it feels like we're on the threshold of a fairly big leap in terms of what's possible with connecting, the Web2 world with the blockchain world, and especially, and I think Chainlink Functions, as you said. I mean, I work very closely with the team on that as well, and it's just supremely exciting. It really feels like we're sort of crossing over the lip of a mountain, and a whole new world is opening up. Right? It's like we're cresting that mountain. It's just fantastic. So thank you, and I'm sure
Yeah, I
all the participants. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I really think this is, I'm being maybe a little emphatic. What's the English word for it? Grandiose. Let's call it grandiose about this. But I really believe this is a new era for Chainlink developers, because, and we've heard it countless times. Now I can finally go and fetch my own data. I can finally go and ping my own API. And so I'm just really stoked to see what the developer community is going to do with this.
Yeah, we've seen some amazing sort of ideas come out with with people shifting some of the compute into Chainlink functions rather than doing, but keeping all the benefits of the cryptographic guarantees, all the benefits of the blockchain without the disbenefits, if you like, right? So it's
Yep.
really quite extraordinary to see that happen. Fantastic, thanks, Kamal. And in terms of the hackathon, it's a very powerful platform for a lot of people. We've seen a very rich history of incredible things coming out of it. In your opinion, given your experience, and your very rich background, at Google and here, do you think hackathons, especially the Chainlink hackathon, do you think it can be a very powerful starting point for a career in Web3? What's your view on that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and we've seen that happen countless amount of time. Just if you look at, I mean, just first, this is generally, if you're a developer, the best way to further your career is to showcase what you can do and showcase your code. Um, Whether you want to get a job, or you want to find co-founders, or you want to improve your skills, it really starts with showcasing your code. And we live in this amazing time where it's never been easier to do that, right? And hackathons are the best way to showcase your code. I mean, think of, usually what people do is they put it on GitHub, and then they go out, they'll go on social media, on Twitter, they'll say, well, check out my stuff. But at Hackathon, this is all turbocharged, right? Because we are looking at this, and if it stands out, then we'll amplify it. So that is just generally a good principle to have, like leverage Hackathon for that reason. Then just very practically, if you look at all the amazing projects that started at our hackathon, like dBridge, Struct Finance, Krypton, Vulkan, all of these have started at a hackathon. So that's also just something to consider. And also, I mean, some of our great team members were noticed during hackathons. I believe our very own Harry, submitted to a hackathon and is now leading our developer advocate team. Michael Robinson in our product marketing team was also noticed during a hackathon. So yes, absolutely. I think this is a really great way to further your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And even personally for me, I was as I was a lawyer for a very long time, like 14 years. It was at a hackathon that I actually first entered the tech world. This is before Web3 was really starting to take off. And from there I found co-founders. I had my own little startup for a while, and that's how I learned to code, is through the world of hackathons and collaborating with other people. And then I ended up becoming an engineer, because it's once you get in the world of creating solutions to world problems, it's kind of hard not to want to be part of it all the time, and then you access amazing people. So that's a great answer. And you're right, we've seen some tremendous people, not just at Chainlink, and other places too, have kickstart their careers and their protocols and their products at Chainlink Hackathon. So that's great. And so one of the other questions that I particularly enjoyed getting, because I've seen different versions of this, right, is what can submitting a project in Chainlink Hackathon do for developers? Why is it important? And I don't think this is just from the point of view of the developer, but from the point of view of the community, or the ecosystem. And then specifically for developers, why is it beneficial for developers to improve their skills by actually completing a hackathon project? I think, and the context of this is, we noticed that there are people who have wonderful ideas but then lose their confidence, or they lose their nerve, or it's not as beautiful as they'd like it, right? We were all horribly critical of our own work, and so we don't submit. I'm totally guilty of this too, but I think it's the wrong thing to do. In your opinion, what are the benefits of actually doing it, submitting it, and why do developers tend to benefit from actually submitting their project?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's actually something that's not limited to developers and hackathons. I think generally we have those amazing ideas in our head, right? And they're perfect in our head. And the moment we start writing them down or bringing them to life, then they're not as perfect, and then we stop, right?
So
And
true.
so I think what's important is that ideas, they're in your head, and nobody knows about them, right? But so forcing yourself to give birth to your idea is super important, because again, like if you let go of the fact that it's not going to be perfect, it's like shipping a product or writing a blog post, but it's going to exist, which is way better than perfect in your head.
Totally.
And so yeah, done is just better than perfect. Basically, that's the point. And one way, so I think some little tricks that I use is that first you can reduce your scope. Often you start with an idea, it's very ambitious, you get into it and you realize, oh, that's actually a lot more than I thought I could achieve
Yeah.
within the budget that I give myself. So it's usually a good idea to reduce scope, which again is something that works in product discipline or writing discipline. Just go back to the essential thing that you're trying to demonstrate and only work on that. That is a very pragmatic and practical advice that I've used myself. I'll want to write something, I'll want to tweet something, and again, it's perfect in my head. And then I write it and I notice that I procrastinate and go do something. So I come back and I say, okay, what is the smallest thing that I'm trying to do or say? And I try to commit to completing that. I think also just taking it one step at a time. There's just cutting it in small pieces and just keep going. But really, really bring it to this world, because the reason why real is better than ideally perfect is that what happens afterwards is just magical. People reach out and you realize that they actually love what you did. They reach out, they don't see the imperfection, and they want to complete this idea with you, or they have a collaboration proposal with you, or they have an idea to make it a little better. So again, I think I would just please submit, because do the last mile. You're gonna do yourself a huge favor by doing this, and it's just really just take a shot.
1000%. Guys, all of you tuned in who are watching this, please listen to what Kamal's saying, because, and again, I'm guilty of this too, right? We can be our own worst critics sometimes, and we deny ourselves the benefit of growth, of progress, of feedback, like Mal said, of the opportunity to learn from others and actually attract others to the cause we believe in. Like, we miss out in all these opportunities just because we are a bit too self-critical sometimes. I mean, the worst case situation is your project doesn't work as well as you thought, but the best case situation is, even if it doesn't work as well as you thought, other people like it, get involved, and this could actually, like Kamal said, birth something really special. don't deny yourself that opportunity. So thank you, Kamal. That's
Yeah.
and it's really great to know that we're not the only ones who struggle with things like that. That even you do,
Every,
all the time, right?
everybody does. There's this
Yeah,
quote that I love, which is 90% of success is showing up, you know, and just show up.
just show up. Yeah, just absolutely. So guys, show up. You've already shown up to do some of the work here. Don't lose your nerve at the last moment, right? Just submit it, click that submit button, and be proud of yourself. Give yourself in the pat in the back, regardless of what happens. You have now submitted to a hackathon. You're now a hackathon participant. You've actually shipped something. That is a big milestone, regardless of what everybody else says. It's a big milestone for each of us when it happens. Do it, okay? Awesome. Thanks, Kamal. That's really really great. And yeah, Tiffy's right. We talk about the scope creeper who endangered. It's true. Scope creep is something that happens, right? As we get so excited and passionate about things that we tend to amplify the scope, and sometimes we overwhelm ourselves by how big we made it in our head. And like Kamal said, just chunk it back down. Do the minimum viable that you think at least proves the concept and get it out there. Done is better than perfect every single day of the week. No question about it, right? So Kamal, when connecting, and I know this is something I think you and I have spoken about a couple. When connecting the on-chain and off-chain worlds, what hard problems does Chainlink Functions solve? Like this is a really important thing that we've been thinking about for a while now.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, as you know, this is really this is a project that's near and dear to my heart. We had this feature that maybe some of you remember called the Any API, and I remember I started playing it with it right away because something clicked. Like it was so powerful. I thought, oh wait, I can just come up with my own data or API call, and I could put my own script behind any server I'd like. I just run with it. So the promise was amazing, but then I try to use it. I think you tried. I mean, a lot of us just will try to use it. It was just so complicated, right? You had to install your node, and it wouldn't be hosted, and it was single nodes. It was actually not decentralized. And when I talked to the DevRel team, I remember they'd say, yeah, almost every developer used it, especially in Hackathon. And 80% of winners would have used an API, and they probably spent a good like 75% of their time actually trying to make it work versus work on their business logic. So we thought, look, we really need to do something. Turns out Steve Ellis really wanted to do something with this as well, and he was at the launch at Denver, which was really great to see. And so we built Function as a completely managed service. No need to understand what a node is, what DONs are, decentralized Oracle networks, and it is fully decentralized. It is trust minimized. It is secure. It's super flexible. You can run any compute you'd like. So it's not just making an API call. You can process or pre-process, post-process the data. You could use it to run any computation, even if it's not an API call. So I think this is the thing that really A, opens up the dimensions of what's possible, and B, makes it very easy for developers to do so. So I'm very stoked to see what you're all gonna be doing with this.
Yeah, it is truly life changing, Kamal. Because like you, when I first started with any API, sure, you're learning a new skill and all of that, but it took a certain amount of time, and I can do now in about 2 hours a Chainlink function what would have taken me a week's worth of development time, a year ago. And that's not an incremental change. That is truly exponential stuff that revolutionized team productivity, prioritization and allocation of resources. Like this is fundamental stuff from even from a business point of view. So super excited about it. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun working with you and the team on this. And actually, that's another interesting one as well, because a part of the functions logic, I think Morgan and a couple of others had written it, with the external adapter stuff that became, a part of the functions sort of overall architecture. Again, that came out of a hackathon too,
Yep,
that little piece of it, right? So another example. Yeah.
yep.
So all right. The next question is, what type of projects would you personally like to see more of?
Yeah, great question. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, I would really be interested to see more hybrid apps. And let me explain what I mean by this. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that Web2 developers have about Web3 is that you've got to put everything on chain. Like, well, I can't do this because how would I put everything on chain? How would I train an AI model on chain? Like, why would you ever want to do that? Don't do that. Um, just there's a part of what your app needs to do that needs to be on chain for to be able to deliver those properties of look, this is something that is provides users with ownership over their data, over their assets, over the contracts that they enter in, but the rest can be off chain, right? And so I think this is this new paradigm that we've been talking about. And so I would love to see what ideas people come up with those hybrid apps, which essentially mixes and matches the most powerful ideas on chain and the most powerful APIs off chain. And I truly believe that the way Web3 becomes mass market is where every business, every developer out there understands how they can differentiate themselves with Web3 principles. And I've seen this happen countless amount of times in other innovation waves in mobile and AI. It was always the same thing. Initially, it started with, oh, we got to do everything on this with this new paradigm, and then it became mass market when it permeated every app out there. Every business now has a mobile app, right? And now every business is embedding AI, especially now with ChatGPT. And I think every business is going to have a Web3 strategy because every business is going to realize, oh, yeah, I need to provide this to my consumers because that's what they want. So that is really what I'm excited to see. I'm also just generally I was born and raised in Morocco. I lived in France. I live in the Bay Area. I love global communities. I love to see what people around the world come up with because every area has their own challenges or things that they're working on, or and so seeing what the problems that Web3 solve in all parts of the world is very inspiring to me. So I think it's also a great moment for Hackathon to demonstrate the power of technology and the fact that it's accessible. I mean, never before has it been that possible for anyone around the world with a laptop and an internet connection to demonstrate their idea and bring their innovation to life. So I think this is something that I've always found super inspiring about building a developer community. So yeah, I think again, this is really the thing that I'm really excited to see. There are some trends that I'm seeing which I think are going to bring Web3 even more like really mass market this year and next year around things like real world assets. I think representing assets on chain, whether it's financial asset, whether it's a physical property, any kind of asset that you can check the provenance or the existence via an API, I think would be really interesting to have. And that brings more value on chain, which then opens up more building blocks, for other developers. Because once those assets are on chain, then things become more interesting. You're bringing some gold on chain, makes a game developer able to make their gamers be able to actually win real gold, right? Not just gold coin pictures. I think real world data is also something that's going to be really interesting to see. And again, functions is going to be really a great way to see this. So if you can bring more data on chain, then again, other developers are going to do really interesting things with it. And the third one that I like to call real world users. And what I mean by this is users who don't really understand or care about what a private key is, and they just want to be able to access those experiences and get that promise. So I think that's probably more in the realm of infrastructure, where it'd be interesting to see things. But I've seen interesting things in connecting identity, right? Like proving that you are the owner of a Twitter handle, for example, via function is really an interesting way to bring Twitter users on chain. So those are just some ideas.
Yeah, no, I love it, and that's what's really fascinating, Kamal. You and I both sort of before this were in a Web2 context, and I think what's really fascinating about Web3 is the use cases that are unlocked by the technology are the kind that many wished that we could do but couldn't do, right? And now we have these unlocked use cases. And it's also, to your point on accessibility, which I think is really important, is it's also converging at a time in human history where it's never been easier to participate, contribute, and make a difference, right? There was a time in the Renaissance period when, citizen scientists became a thing, right? Like people, of the gentlemanly class, the prestigious classes were the only ones who could have the time and leisure to go and do science, and they did a lot of work, and now we have a situation where anybody who's interested and has an internet connection can actually participate in moving the state of the world forward. And it's truly a privileged time in history from that point of view, that we were alive at this time, able to participate in things like the Chainlink Hackathon, which is global. When you think about that, it's quite extraordinary. Like we have teams, many of whom have never met each other and have produced amazing things. That's truly an extraordinary
Absolutely.
moment. So, guys, I think for those of you thinking that, oh, sometimes it's hard, or we don't know what to do, the opportunity has never been easier or bigger, right? It's a beautiful combination of two things. So seize it. And it's a video hackathon. Definitely it's a video project. Okay, I'm never going to stop pushing you guys to submit your hackathons. All right, great. Thank you for that, Kamal. That was wonderful. Next question is, what would you say, Kamal, to people who want to take their project, to the next level and grow it into a full, sophisticated Web3 dApp or protocol? Like, what is the leap, the leveling up required for people to go from hackathon submission to that?
Yeah, a great question. There's a lot that goes into taking your project to the next level. I think especially in Web3, you're thinking about security, upgrading your contracts. But then there's just the normal, fundraising route, the normal scaling route, making sure that you define the right milestones for your project. I'd like to call out our program, the Build program, which I think is fantastic and really helps those teams scale from providing technical guidance, marketing help, and the wonderful welcome that the community has given the build projects. Also, I think one thing that I see that I'm very proud of is build projects helping other build projects. So you're really entering a community within that program. So this is something that I would definitely encourage people who are serious about taking their idea to life. I would say, but I would say, look, go for it. Like the thing is, again, it's never been a better time to do that. You can come up with an idea, you can see if people are interested in, you can measure adoption, you can prove adoption. It's never been easier to raise money. And I think if you believe in something, I would just, my advice would be just go for it. Uh, take it to take it to the finish line. Look at see your idea come to life, and come see us about the build program.
Great, thank you. Just as an interesting offshoot on that question, Kamal, because a lot of people come to hackathons hoping to find the right team, and you've built massive teams, extremely successful organizations. If you were to tell people in hackathons what to, how to sort of, one or two things that they should really think about when building a team for that long term, you want to mature this into a Web3 dApp or protocol and take it to the next level. What do you see as being the true power of teams, and how do you find the right teams?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think finding your co-founders is the most important thing that you can do, and I think co-founder misalignment is the number one reason for why startups or projects fail. So I would say the first thing is really just to think about alignment in values, in objectives and outcomes, just making sure that you're all looking at the same thing, you're all looking for the same goals. Because when things get tough, this is when that agreement between people just get really tested. So it's really about building trust. It's about being excited about the same things, and so that would be the first thing to check. right? Making sure that, do you get more energy when you're interacting with someone? Does this person get more energy interacting with you? Is it something that you're thinking, okay, I can't wait to just go attack this big, big mountain together with this group of people, because it is a very arduous and tough climb. It is exhilarating, and it's definitely worth going for it. But it is also, it's going to test you, right? So that's the first thing, and I think the second thing is really make sure that you pick people who are complementary with you. It like the feeling you get when you're in a team where people are really good, but they're better than you in certain dimension, and you're better than them in another dimension. So it's really like, what you're bringing to the table, and it's very obvious what they're bringing to the table, and you're aligned in what you're trying to accomplish. That feeling is the best. So
So
I
true.
think we all have been in jobs when, like, I can't believe we're gonna have to go to this meeting. Oh my God, this or that, right? I mean, I think we all know that. But when you're actually going after the same vision with folks who are really amazing, and you feel privileged that you're working with them. That is the best feeling.
Absolutely. And thank you. Such a beautiful answer, Kamal. And the point about the values is something that I think we're quite fortunate in the Web3 space to, by and large, we all share very similar values. And so places like the Chainlink Hackathon, it's quite extraordinary. It's probably the highest concentration of people guided by the same values and pursuing the same outcomes that I've seen anywhere. Like, it's extraordinary when I'm on the Discord channels or doing the office hours for the functions. I see other team members sort of participating and contributing to each other's while like, it's such a collaborative environment, even in the hackathon, which you could argue is a competitive environment for some people. But even there, they share the same values enough to get involved with each other. And it's such an opportunity for us, those of us involved in the hackathon, to really leverage that, because the odds of finding the right team, as Kamal said, to help you go the distance is much higher. And I think there's an old African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone; if you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
Right?
Yep.
And I think that's such a beautiful way to summarize what things like the Chainlink Hackathon can do for your vision and your dreams. So guys, definitely look for the right teammates. This is the ideal, richest environment you can find it in. Thank you for that, Kamal. That's a great answer. And I'm mindful that we have a little bit more time, so a couple more questions here for you. What skills do you think developers need these days? Given how much the world has changed, to thrive in this industry, especially in the Web3 world, Kamal? What skills do you think developers need?
Yeah, I think the first one is curiosity, because it's very easy to be overwhelmed. Things are going very fast. Tools that were the tool to use 6 months ago are no longer the thing that you should be using. Things that were not possible 6 months ago are now possible. And so I think, especially in Web3, it's stay curious. Don't feel overwhelmed. It's fine. We're all overwhelmed. Nobody can keep up with everything that's happening, but just stay curious. Try things out. That I would say that definitely would be the first trait. The second one is be creative. I think creativity is really a superpower now, especially as things are so open. And we're building. You mentioned it feels easy to be aligned in this space. I believe the reason is because we're building something new and exciting, and so I think creativity and inventing new ways, and not accepting anything in the status quo. I don't think the way that we're consume Web3 experiences in 2 or 3 years will be anywhere near the way that we're interacting with those experiences today. So I think creativity is very important. Determination, it's not easy. It's hard. Things are not as easy in Web 2. Infrastructure break. They are not compatible with the others. You have to spend more time to figure things out. And you know what? It's great news, because it means that there's a lot of opportunity. The folks who are going to stay with it are going to be the winner. The folks who get discouraged, who want to come back when it's easier, are not going to win as big, or they're not going to get to build the space as much. Um, because again, once things become obvious, then everybody will get in. And so I think all of you working in the space, you're part of that secret of understanding. Okay, we get it. This is going to happen, and we're working on that. That's good. So stay determined. Submit your right. Submit your hack. Submit your code. Um, and then I would say the last thing is have a bridging mindset. It's not about, one thing that I'm not super fan of in the term Web3 is the opposition with Web2. I don't think this is the way this thing works. It's not, it wasn't mobile versus web. It's mobile and web. Now companies have a website and a mobile app. And so I think working with Web2 APIs or with Web2 folks, and Web2 folks work with Web3 folks because they know something you don't, right? I'm incredibly, I'm amazed by the sheer determination and willpower that the folks who've been in the industry for so long, they've demonstrated to bring the industry where it is today. And it's real, like we're definitely building on top of the amazing accomplishment that they had. So I think have that bridging mindset and invent this new world.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And I've often thought about the more I get immersed and meet people around the world in Web3, I'm like, there is also a spirit of teamwork in this particular industry, Kamal, because part of being decentralized means that we realize we're all going to be working together. We're not siloing necessarily. We're just sort of working with together and we're meshing as humanity. And I think that's a phenomenal skill and mindset. It very closely, I believe, allies with the bridging mindset is the idea like, we bridge, we work together, we align, and we work and we produce something together. That together mindset, which I think is wonderful. And it kind of, there's a comment here that I just noticed, which sort of reminded me about that, where Inns talks about, you know, how he met people, at SmartCon and the other teams that he's met over the years. And I've seen this over and over and over again, where teams of people help each other out. They show support, they show care, and that's how the entire space moves forward, right? And for those of you, who haven't been to SmartCon, try and come this year. We're having it this year in Barcelona, October 1 and 2, 1st and 2nd of October. Wonderful place to meet people, network with the best in the industry, learn from the best people in the industry, and be part of the movement. Participate, get in there. Work with others, and it's truly a unique moment in our history. So thanks for bringing those points up, Kamal. I think that's spot on. So, and I'm mindful of time because we do have a few more minutes left, so we can try and do two more questions in the next 5-ish minutes or so.
Let's do it.
Where do you see? Sorry, I think I just lost my lights. I'll fix that in a moment. Where do you see the blockchain industry and Chainlink in 5 years, Kamal? What possibilities exist that excite you?
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned, we're gonna move from the blockchain industry thought as an island to blockchain embedded everywhere. Very much like what happened with mobile or with AI. And the reason why I believe this is that it's pretty clear to me that consumers will prefer owning things, really owning things, right? They prefer to own their data, they prefer to own their assets, they prefer to own their agency, i.e., own the contracts that have been made with them. I like this analogy of the first time that I downloaded music, and I thought, okay, I like that. I prefer that to going and buying a CD. And that behavior permeated all our industry, and now we're streaming everything. And so I think that the same principles are going to permeate our whole, like all industries and our whole society. And we'll look back at a moment where we couldn't see what banks are doing with our funds. And we're like, that was crazy because now everybody could see it on chain. Do you remember those days? Yeah, that was nuts. So I think we'll have that kind of discussion. And the way that we enable this world is, again, we make it super easy for developers to embed those Web3 components with these Web3 superpowers into their apps. That is how we make that happen. And this is why I'm so proud to be working at Chainlink Labs, building the Chainlink community, because Chainlink is the fundamental mechanism by which they will do that. They will need those simple abstraction to embed chain logic into their app. And some will be on Web 2, some will be on chain, and some of those messaging or assets will need to move freely across chain, private and public chain. And this is all the things that we're working on. So it's going to be amazing. And now it's time to join. Again, not when it's obvious to everyone. So I think that's where I see the industry going. And I think this is why it's so exciting to be part of that movement today.
Thank you. It is truly an exciting moment. So thank you for that. And in the last few minutes, Kamal, this is the question that's very close to my heart as well, given that I had my start and entry into the tech world was also, as a very non-technical person. Today, I may be an engineer, but that wasn't true, 5 or 6 years ago. So very close to my heart, this question: how can non-technical community members who are not developers participate and contribute in the Chainlink hackathon?
Well, I think, well, first of all, I have a very simple answer to this question. Look at Zubin. But I would say everyone, yeah. So I mean, people looking at you, they know that everybody, everybody should get in. And yeah, I think everyone has a role to play in driving this change. And I would argue that actually non-technical people have an incredibly important role to play now, especially at this very moment where we're bridging the industry into mass adoption. It's all about this narrative. It's all about making people understand, download music, don't go buy CDs, right? Ask for ownership of your data, ask for ownership of your assets, ask for ownership of your contracts. It is possible. And so I think what we need to do is go beyond the currently defined scope of what we do and make sure that we ask the question, why is Web3 important in this use case? One really cool example for me is, NFTs. Sure, they've become a little less hype these days, but they're incredibly important. Like if you're a game designer, you want to offer character portability to your gamer. You want to tell, you're going to play my game, you can move with your character to any other game that's compatible. You can sell your character. That is something that every gamer wants. So we should be thinking about character portability. And yes, of course, under the hood, it's still going to be an NFT. But again, it is about everyone that's working in gaming, game designers, product managers, creatives, marketers, to think about, okay, how do I use character portability to differentiate? And I could go on and on with the list of people who can bring that narrative, right? If you're an asset manager, you want to represent your asset class on chain. If you're working in insurance, you want to give consumers the proof that they'll get their payout, right? And they won't get stuck in that 1-800 number that we all love so much. If you're marketing, you want to create incentive systems like pay-per engagement. That's never been possible before. If you're a nonprofit, you want to enable charitable donation that's 100% aligned with the outcomes. You can now measure the outcomes and make sure that people donate money that actually goes towards the outcome they want to support. If you're into climate change mitigation, there's a lot of coordination aspect that you can leverage Web3 for. And the list goes on and on. So again, I'll go back to my initial ask, right? This is the moment that the dimensions open up. And this is what you can show us and show the world, more importantly. This is my idea. This is how I think I can mix and match on-chain logic, Web3 superpowers with Web2 APIs. So again, please submit. We want to see your idea, and yeah, let's build this together.
Thank you, Kamal. I love that. I was on mute, so sorry. I was looking for that mute button and I kept clicking it. You've covered so much, and we've sort of coming on the end of time, but your game portability, your character portability point really, really hit a note with me, because that is 100% what I'm seeing in the meetups and communities I'm seeing. is that it is so multidisciplinary. I'm meeting economists, psychologists, incentive designers, like incredible professional people that I never knew their world, and getting to sit with them, collaborate with them, learn from them, and together co-design things is a kind of excitement that I've never seen anywhere else. Like it's like working in some of the world's best R&D companies without working in those companies. Like it's the same benefits without needing to go and look for a job. You just get to see these kind of people. It's amazing. So that's a fantastic answer. So Kamal, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being here. We appreciate all the leadership you're showing, and all the excitement that you and I and all the others in the space participating in the hackathon and supporting the space. Really appreciate all the effort that everyone's putting in. So thank you for making the time today. Thank you for answering those questions and going above and beyond with the personal stories, the anecdotes, and we really appreciate everything you've done. And for those of you who are here, um, don't forget submission time is coming up. It's coming up 11:45 p.m. tonight EST, right? 11:45 p.m. So not quite midnight, just before that. And remember what Kamal said: just submit, just hit that click button, do it, get it out there. Done's better than good. Done's better than perfect, and you guys can do it. And this is just the start. For those of you who've never done it before, it's the start. For those of you who've done it before, you're better this time because you did it the last time, and so on it goes. Kamal, any last words from you to the community?
Well, thanks for having me today, and I want to thank you, Zubin, for everything you're doing. This is really inspiring. I think a lot of people are seeing everything you're doing for the community. So thank you for doing this. And again, I can't wait to see what you all build. So please submit.
Absolutely wonderful. Thanks, guys. Everybody, good luck for your hackathon submissions. Thanks for joining us on this live stream. You know where to find us. We'll pop it in the chat as well on Twitter and other places, but we're always there for you. And keep building. Don't stop believing in the future that you're building because it's going to happen. Thanks, guys. Everybody, have a wonderful day and good luck for your submissions.